Yo, yo, yo! What's up, guys? Welcome to Beers with Brando. No Mama's Way Home, Part 3. We did it, guys, and No Mama's Way. We just saw this film not that long ago. I just got back. Look, I'm still emotional. Look at my eyes and stuff. Jesus. Great movie, guys. Great movie. Lots to talk about. We're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. But if you guys haven't already, please like and subscribe to this page. Follow the Instagram page at Beers with Brando _ with a lot more coming after this. Big announcement soon. One in particular I'm very excited to drop with you guys, and it's looking like I'm going to drop it before this year ends. All right, so we're going to start 2022 with a bang, hopefully. So thank you guys. Love you guys. All right, let's get into it. Beers with Brando, Part 3, No Mama's Way Home. Please be advised, the following episode contains spoilers from Spider-Man No Way Home. If you have not seen the movie yet, please do so and return to this episode after. You have been warned.
All right, guys, we fucking made it, dude. This is it. This is the finale. Let's talk about it. Okay, so we went pretty early for the screening. We went on a Thursday. Lucky us. Shout out to German. It's a lot to take in. Obviously, this movie was really big. They gave us so much. It was a 2.5 hour movie, but honestly felt like I felt it went by really quick. I don't know about you guys. That said, the crowd that we had, it was pretty kind of lame. But I mean, they responded when they needed to, you know. But yeah. So all right, guys.
It was a small theater.
Yeah, it was. You're totally right. You're right. Yeah, this movie started off right out the gate hot. But before we get into that, let's go around real quick without not giving too much out. But we'll start with Kay. Did this movie live up to your expectations? We'll go around the table.
For me, it did. I mean, from watching the other past movies, I was already pretty excited about watching this one and like expecting a lot of stuff. And I feel like it did meet a lot of the expectations that I had for it. So I liked it.
You, German?
Yes, and yes. You know, what can I say, man? I was like, after the movie ended, it was just, I had to process it, you know, like there were so many moments where I was, you know, looking at the screen and just being like, damn, like, you know, like this is happening, like, very excited, you know, like you mentioned, we had a more hyped up theater, because it does make a difference, but I mean, it wasn't necessary, man. I got chills. I cried. I got hyped. You know, it lived up to my expectation.
Absolutely. You, Maggie?
I feel like it did. I'm just sad that some of my theories didn't happen. But I mean, besides that, I really liked it. It was fun.
Welcome to the MCU. Yeah, so like I said, there's a lot to talk about. Movie started hot right out the gate. And speaking of gate, opening weekend, Spider-Man No Way Home earned an estimated $150 million. A lot of money for an opening weekend. I think they said it's the third biggest behind Force Awakens, Star Wars, and Endgame or Infinity War, one or the other. I'm assuming Endgame.
Which is a lot to say, you know, considering we are still technically in the pandemic and there's still a lot of limitations. I didn't expect any less, honestly. I feel like Sony and Marvel knew exactly what they were doing with their deal, you know, to share Spider-Man, let alone maybe if they were already thinking at the time of this was going to be where they were heading at, you know. Not surprised.
I don't think any of us are. Speaking of surprises, let's get right into not even 10 minutes into the movie. We get an official MCU debut. We get Daredevil. There's rumors circulating that he would show up in the MCU for a while. Kevin Feige said they didn't know how they would bring Daredevil into the fold, but it would be played by Charlie Cox. And speak on top of the Daredevil, if you guys have been watching Hawkeye, not just you guys, but everyone watching this, they've been teasing Kingpin, and he's set to make his official debut in the season finale. I think going back to what Disney and Marvel knew what they were doing, Sony, these guys were really smart because I feel like Hawkeye almost kind of teased the possible, like, all of us were like, is Daredevil going to show up in this movie, this and that? And the teasing and Kingpin were like, oh, you know what? It actually might happen. And sure enough, not even 10 minutes into the movie, he comes out. So, question for you three. Are all three of you guys watching Daredevil or just Kay and German? Okay, so this one's for you, Kay and German. What do you think Disney and Marvel have in store for Charlie Cox, a.k.a. Daredevil?
Well, I have to mention something, me and Katie have been watching. We just finished actually yesterday, season 1 of Daredevil.
Okay.
Amazing, dude. Like I already like Daredevil, as a kid, but there's not really a lot of projects on him, or I think there was just that movie with Ben Affleck.
Greatest movie of all time.
Best movie I've ever seen.
Wake me up.
We've been seeing the season 1, and it's great so far. We still have 2 seasons to go. Obviously, we know after that, it got canceled, and it's been 3 years for the fans that watched it at the time to see him back. But I think it might be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, reaction that I've seen Kay have watching an MCU movie at the theater.
Really?
We've seen
Wow.
Endgame. Yeah, we've seen Endgame. We've seen all kinds of movies together. And I feel like this is the first time where I saw her like
I was visibly shook.
Yeah, she was visibly shook. Which it's fun, and I like when she like gets into it, especially because we hadn't even watched the whole season 1. But in the few episodes I've seen of Daredevil, I feel like me and Kay have gotten attached to him already, and his whole storyline. So. I don't even remember what the question was that you asked me. Can you repeat it?
I was going to say, what do you think they have in store for him now and that he's in the MCU officially?
I would like to think that they're going to make like a Disney Plus series, or I don't know if they're going to end up making him like another show, kind of like on his own, or if he's going to be this kind of like side hero that's going to pop up here and there, I would like to see him team up with Spider-Man.
I was going to say that. I was going to say, I think maybe having a movie with Kingpin, the main nemesis in that film, having him and Daredevil kind of playing off each other, I think would help. And then eventually from there, I think based on reaction, we'd see what we get. But I mean, we were, like you said, we were in a small theater and it wasn't that loud. But when Charlie Cox showed up, everybody was like, oh, you could tell people were excited that Daredevil showed up. So, yeah, so I think they're going to do good with them. I think a lot of people are excited, especially for those who already saw the show. I am one of the people that have not, so I taking your word for it. I'm probably going to start watching after I finish up Hawkeye, so I can't wait for that. So Daredevil comes in 10 minutes in the movie, and then eventually Peter, still struggling with his friends getting into MIT. He goes sees Doctor Strange. I thought Doctor Strange after Endgame was going to be like the next father figure type outside Happy and Tony for Peter. It's interesting also how Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme. I think them mentioning that he would probably have a bigger role, but I mean, for whatever reason, obviously the new Doctor Strange movie is coming out next. Do you guys think Doctor Strange was used right in the film?
Mm.
And this is for you, Maggie, too, as well. You could jump in, yeah.
I feel like he was, if only because I think besides Wanda, he would be the only one to be able to like even introduce the whole plot of like the multiverse and everything. Whether they did him justice, I do feel like he kind of was a bit of a pushover in certain aspects. And like the whole scene where like the whole fight scene between him and Spider-Man, I do kind of feel like I was just like, I feel like that didn't really do him justice all that much, but I mean, it is like a Spider-Man centric movie, so I should not be expecting like him out here like beating up Spider-Man. But I mean, all things considered, like he was good. I feel like they used him pretty well and stuff in terms of being like introducing the multiverse and everything, and like setting up the whole plot of the movie.
Okay, I felt like for me, if you went like on like merchandise, looking at Hot Topic and stuff, Doctor Strange and Spider-Man were pretty much 50-50. So I thought they would use him a little bit more. I think they did use him okay, especially with him being on board with his own movie next. I don't think Spider-Man's going to show up in Multiverse of Madness that we know of. But you guys, Kay and German, what do you guys think? Do you guys think Doctor Strange was used well?
You can go first.
Well, yeah, I mean, like Maggie was saying, like I think he was used to like, I guess in the appropriate capacity for not being his movie. And since his movie is coming out, like I feel like maybe they just didn't feel the need to really give him so much like a way bigger role than what he had already. But I mean, you mentioned like the whole like father figure thing. And I mean, I thought that's kind of where it was going to. And I feel like, I mean, it felt like they were like hinting at that a little bit at some points. But then I feel like they also could have done like a little bit more with that kind of thing. But,
Yeah, I thought so. They would too, but especially with at the end where they don't know who Peter is anymore. That pretty much is out the door. But German, were you going to say anything before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's all kinds of theories going out there about Doctor Strange and what's going on. His personality in this movie seems off to what we've seen. I don't know how to explain it. In the other movies, like, Endgame, where his own movie, when he becomes, Sorcerer Supreme, it's just very serious, very like, I'm not messing around kind of thing. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And in this movie, something seemed off. Maybe this is where Marvel was taking the opportunity to maybe take him, as far as personality goes, somewhere else than what we had seen before. Or, all those kinds of theories that are out there about him not being actually Doctor Strange, maybe getting introduced, or I don't know. It just seemed off. I felt that the whole him feeling bad for Peter and trying to help him out and making all this mess, it seemed kind of forced. Again, I go back to him, like not even telling Tony Stark, like, hey man, you're going to die, to him messing up all these multiverse for a kid who he's seen like once, it just seemed off. But I mean, I liked how much screen time they gave him. Like Katie mentioned, they probably have, his movie's coming out, so maybe they didn't want to give him as much screen time. And to be realistic, had he been involved in more of like, the final battle or things like that, it probably wouldn't have gone the way it did, since he's a very powerful individual and he probably could have done a lot of things and made the fight a lot shorter,
That's true.
Made it a lot easier.
I didn't think about that.
Fighter. So I think it's good. They pretty much get them off the fight until like the very, very end, when he comes back and then he starts trying to fix things up, and he does it pretty fast. So I think that's another aspect of why they kept him off for a lot of the movie.
That you I think you hit it on the nail with the other scene, the final battle and stuff. So that makes sense. One of the guys that Doctor Strange would have fought if he was there at the beginning was Dr. Octopus. Audio Octavius makes his debut probably a little bit after, right? Spider-Man visits Doctor Strange. I love the look. He looks great. His arms were a little different, huh? They were more, not necessarily exactly the same, but yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they were as close as they could from Spider-Man 2, but I mean, they also want to make them look better. So I think that's what makes it look different, just, I mean, the CGI and qualities It's a lot better now. So they look great, you know. But I think they were just shooting to be the same exact ones from Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, that makes sense. I personally was excited the most for Dr. Octopus. That's just me personally. You know, the power of the sun in the palm of my hands. But I don't know if you guys noticed when he was going after Peter on that bridge, you know, on that interstate, he wasn't necessarily trying to hurt people on purpose. He was just trying to get to Spider-Man. And I don't know if you noticed that compared to other villains, even like in the Spider-Man 2. He's just trying to do his thing. Yeah, he's a little reckless, obviously. But he never really intentionally was like, oh, I want to kill this person because I'm a fucking bad guy. He was just like, oh, get the fuck out of my way, you know? But I thought it was good to see him again. Also on that bridge, we had Green Goblin in the old suit, very nostalgic, but little disappointing that he was only on screen with that suit for 2 minutes, 3 minutes maybe. German, Kay, especially Kay with that t-shirt on. How excited was it to see Green Goblin again on the film, on TV, on the screen?
Yeah, I mean, I was super stoked about seeing him again, especially in the old outfit, like you said. But it was after watching the movie, I read something about how originally, I think they actually were not going to have the old outfit back. Like it was just something that Willem Dafoe asked for. So I'm guessing that they kind of just did that one scene where he just flashes and then he's off, you know, with the old costume. Mostly for him, you know, to have him in the movie. But I was like super stoked to see him. Like, I don't know, and I thought he did amazing in this movie. Like, yeah,
we'll get into that.
The other ones did good too, but
yeah, you German, how excited were you?
Very excited. You know, with first Dr. Octopus, is just a great villain, man. You know, immediate like nostalgia seeing him again. And right away addressing where he kind of left off, you know, his machine. And very much is trying to finish whatever he was, you know. Obviously, he thinks this is his Peter Parker. And like you said, he's not like trying to kill people and stuff, which was a very good contrast because, you know, when he's fighting Spider-Man, he, like you said, he's just like, get out of my way. I'm trying to get Spider-Man. If you're on the way, well, oops, you know. In contrast, the Green Goblin, he just shows up and starts bombing everything.
Green Goblin, I think he drinks a fifth of Henny before he gets on that glider, I think. Like,
he just throws bombs, starts blowing everybody up. And it was just super exciting, dude, to see him. He flashes on screen with his full-on suit for like 6 seconds. And maybe it is for the reason that Katie mentioned, like, just to satisfy him. Or at least playing tribute to the other movies, you know, because it's just such an iconic suit.
Yeah.
It was great, man, seeing him, hearing his laugh immediately, you know, and, you know, you embrace for what's about to happen. And then, you know, everything switches so fast, you don't even know what just happened. I'm sure we'll go into it in a little bit, but it was pure nostalgia, man, seeing Doc Ock and the Green Goblin in the same screen, and Doc Ock acknowledging Green Goblin, you know, because in the movies it never really touches on the fact that they may know the existence of each other. Obviously, the Green Goblin dies first in Spider-Man 1, but you know, he mentions like Osborn, and it's kind of like, oh, he knows who he is, you know. I don't know, man. It was just giddy, you know, chills, happiness, not believing what I not you know, like I mentioned earlier, just processing what I was watching.
Yeah, a lot of take in. Yeah, and we'll get to that with all the villains and them acknowledging each other. But let's talk a little bit more about, let's say, William Dafoe. Obviously, for whatever reason, the Oscars don't like to acknowledge Marvel movies, but William Dafoe deserves a fucking Oscar and a fucking city named after him after that fucking thing. Just like the I forget his name. Just like the guy that plays Jonah Jameson, there's no one else on this earth built for that role but William Dafoe. Like, his name's not even William Dafoe anymore. It's Green Goblin. On his birth certificate, it's going to say Green Goblin.
Mr. Green Goblin.
What I liked about it, though, even though they did the nostalgia, let me hope I pronounce this right, but they really did a good job this film throughout with all the other villains and stories. story-wise with continuity, right? Is that how you say it? Like they just like they were able to pick up, naturally from other movies and just go with the flow and then tie it into the No Way Home story, the Marvel universe. But Kay, so that part where they're in the feast and he goes to see Aunt May, and actually this is for Maggie. I'm sorry, Kay. Maggie, they did mention him, but what were your thoughts on them not name dropping Harry Osborn?
It genuinely made me like upset. I am genuinely, I was bothered by it. If only because I mean, like, I wouldn't say that he was like an integral in like an important part of like Spider-Man and everything, or at least like to Norman Osborn and stuff, clearly, like considering he replaced his own son with Peter and everything. But like they they have that whole other scene and stuff, or not, no, it's not another scene. I think it's in the same scene where Norman is like having that whole like episode and stuff, and he like mentions, he's like, oh, like my son and everything, like where's my son? And I'm like, well, like if he's really that important to you, like why wouldn't you say his name? But I'm like, okay, I guess that's fine. I don't know, it bothered me. I didn't appreciate that.
Yeah, I was like, well, I mean, just say it. I thought they were, I thought they were going to use it more, if anything, to like, that's why he's back, to avenge his son's death and his legacy. But different twist than what I had. But I mean, that they did acknowledge it at the end of the day. Going on to that continuity, Sandman and Electro. Sandman right away showing up, wanting to help Spider-Man, because he gave him that free pass.
Mm-hmm.
That I thought that was cool. And right away, he's like, he didn't even, no questions asked. He's like, help me beat this blue guy in the sky. And he's like, yeah, I got you. And, that happened. I don't know if you guys did notice, Electro was blue in the beginning. But, yeah, okay, so we'll get to Electro again. But I love the black suit that Tom Holland had in that scene. I don't know why they only used it for that scene, though. Am I crazy? That was the only time we saw the black suit.
I think he only uses it for that scene, and also in the scene where he's going to feast to meet the Green Goblin and
Okay.
May, because he books it there. I mean, it makes sense because technically it's not a black suit. It's his normal suit flipped inside out because he gets paint already, when somebody throws paint at him. So, I mean, technically it's not like a new suit. It's just a suit inside out, and
Cool.
that's because it was dirty, It looked cool. Who knows? Maybe this is kind of like, maybe they'll plant the seed in him for future movies to get a black suit, or a Venom suit, but we'll see.
Ooh, getting a little too ahead of us, are we? I'm just kidding. I think the way Jamie Foxx played Electro, and we'll get into Andrew Garfield later, but I think this film did justice for the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. I really think they really cleaned up whatever they messed up on, and I thought it was really great. You guys happy Electro doesn't look like a big bully anymore? Little 7-Eleven blue raspberry slush. I was so relieved, dude. He looked, that was so bad. I don't want to say too much on that, but it was so fucking great. But
what do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm happy that they changed up his costume, and I do feel like they saw the chance and they took it to redeem the characters from like the Amazing Spider-Man and everything, and I think they did a good job at doing that. So
I'll go ahead and even say that I think we'll get into the other Spider-Mans, but everybody was happy to see Tobey. But I really think the biggest winner out of this movie is the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. I really think they opened the door for Andrew Garfield and a whole bunch of other things. But going back earlier, when Norman acknowledged Dr. Octopus for the first time with all the villains, I think that was a little too surreal. I couldn't process that part. When all the villains are in the same room together, it's kind of like, oh, how'd you die and how you die, And like German said, they never acknowledged each other before. They never met on person Doctor Octopus and Green Goblin. So I thought that was cool. What do you guys think about that scene? We'll go ahead and go around each person.
You can go first, Maggie.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I thought it was really nice. It just seemed like a casual conversation between friends. They're all just like, oh, like, well, what's your past? And it's like, oh, well, like, I was killed by Spider-Man. I was like, really? I was too. And it was just very casual. I enjoyed it. It was like a nice chat between friends.
Yeah, I liked it, and I mean, I thought it was kind of sad too, because like they started coming to the realization that they did die, like, or they were going to die, and they're like, oh crap. But what's it called? Yeah, I mean, I liked how it was scripted, and I thought it was pretty helpful to add that in, especially for people, I guess, that haven't seen like the past movies, just to kind of give them like background, on like who these characters are and what happened with them and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. It was surreal, to me, to be watching all of them interacting, acknowledging each other. I feel like the script was well done, where like they all had things to say, and it didn't feel too forced. That's my opinion. So everybody had their chance to say things or talk to each other. But yeah, I mean, surreal is probably the word I would use to describe it. I was very excited, just to see Doc Ock and Green Goblin having a conversation. And like Katie said, I doubt, well, maybe, but I know a lot of people are not like huge and like, MCU followers, and they're probably going to see the movie with their friends, for the hype, yada, yada. So it was like a very quick run through of who these people are, and why they're bad kind of thing, But I mean, it's probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, just seeing all of them interacting with each other.
Same.
And it was just great, and like you guys were mentioning, I felt like when it comes to Electro and stuff, they did redeem it. Maybe they made him blue for a few little moments there just to kind of acknowledge. So they're not trying to completely wipe it under the rug. They're acknowledging what happened or what they did. Okay, let's move on. Let's make it better. And, they delivered, and they probably over delivered,
Yeah. I think they did. They set up, and Jamie Foxx is a good actor. Let's not get that twisted, because he's an Oscar.
Yeah.
I mean, he's won Oscars for Ray, and he's done other movies. And I mean, it's just whatever it was that didn't work out the first time. Redeemed, definitely. I think redeem and surreal are two big words to describe this film. But I know we touched up briefly on it, so we'll just go by it. Doctor Strange versus Spider-Man, that scene. I love that scene because I'm a big Doctor Strange boy. But I was intrigued, though, how Spider-Man, like, out of body, was able to refuse giving the box up to Doctor Strange. I thought that was pretty cool. It was pretty funny, but I was actually, thinking about it. How the hell did he do it? But any comments on that quickly?
Yeah, no, I was going to bring up the same thing, because it confused me a little on how he was able to actually do that.
Yeah.
Because it even surprised like Doctor Strange, like, wait, like no one has ever been able to do this and everything. So I don't know if it had something to do with like his, I don't know, maybe like his senses or something, that he was able to do that out of bite. I don't know, but it was really cool.
That makes sense too. Also, maybe because he was part of the spell. I don't know. I honestly don't know. That's one that I'd like. Hopefully, they'd like to explain down the road. But moving on, William Dafoe. Okay, so they all end up. So Tom Holland actually listens to his aunt, and they go to Happy Studio. He takes all the villains, which is weird, in this little studio. And he's like, I want to help him, and he does. He ends up fixing Doc Ock, which was really cool to see. There's some, what's the word I'm looking for? Optimism by some of them, like the Sandman. Dr. Octopus, he was a little nervous, but I think deep down he knew it was possible. But how do I say this? Okay, so Jamie Foxx, going back to him, I think they really did him good. And even though Green Goblin was probably the main character, They made him really strong. And this whole time, even in the studio, he was like, I'm not buying any of this shit. Like, I don't, I love what's going on. I don't. And Jamie, he did a really good job being that anti, like, I don't believe in shit what this guy's doing, especially that scene when he's talking to Sandman. The lizard, let's talk the lizard a little bit. I don't know why they had him in this film. Honestly, it was the same thing. He just sat in the car, and then, at the final battle, which we'll get into later, same thing happened to him. So, I mean, I don't know. That was the only thing it's one of the few things I didn't like about this film, the way the lizard was. But pretty much, they fixed Dr. Octopus. Then that's when we see that glorious fucking acting by William Dafoe once again, when he becomes the Hooded Goblin. I thought that was great. And then obviously that turned into a fight scene with Tom Holland, Spider-Man, and then, of course, the death of Aunt May. Did you guys see it coming?
I don't know if I can say I saw, and I mean at the very last seconds, yeah, I kind of saw it coming, because I was like, oh, this is not gonna end well. But just in general, where it was kind of leading, no, being a Marvel movie, being such a big film, I expected someone to die. I just didn't know how or who. I really thought I was gonna be Happy for some reason. I figured he already lived his Iron Man arc.
That made sense too. I thought
it was gonna be him. But no, I didn't see it coming up until the last few seconds, where she's trying to attack Green Goblin. I was like, oh yeah, this is not gonna end well for you, No, so I can't say I saw it coming up until, a few seconds before it actually happens. But I mean, I feel like she fulfilled her purpose. I don't know if you guys agree, but she's in the first two movies, kind of, helps him, Spider-Man, Tom Holland, to kind of turn into the hero, trying to get him to do the right thing. Like it's mentioned, like even though she's over here like dying, she still thinks it was the right thing to try to help these villains, even though it got her killed. She delivers the line of, with great power comes great responsibility. Big moment for Tom Holland, big moment for all of us Spider-Man fans, because we've been waiting for it. I really didn't think it was going to be her, though, the one to deliver it. But it makes sense.
What do you girls think?
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, with Aunt May, I feel like in the last two movies, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember her having like such a big role, I guess, in the last two movies, where she's kind of like that person, like giving Tom advice and everything on things. So I felt like in this movie, they kind of just wanted to throw it at you and stuff, but she's like trying to guide him and do all this and everything. And then they just kill her off, and I'm just like, right? Like I was super thrown off and stuff. I did not see it coming, her dying and everything. And I mean, I just felt like they could have maybe developed that, like her character in that sense a little more than they did. Just try in this movie, but because I feel like I did it. Okay. I did cry like a little bit, when she died. But I felt like I could have felt it a lot stronger than I actually did. Because then, after for the rest of the movie, I was like, oh, I kind of forgot that she died. Like I was like, But yeah, I don't know. That's just me.
Okay, you, Maggie?
I was pretty caught off guard by her death. If only because I wasn't fully going in expecting her to be the one to die. I was kind of expecting MJ, in all honesty. But then they hit me with Aunt May's death, and I'm like, oh, well, would you look at that? Honestly, I didn't really feel much of anything at her death, which makes me feel a little bad, because I was like, well, like they're out here, like Katie said, they were trying to establish her as this parental figure and stuff, but they should have done that honestly during like the first movie or anything, instead of establishing like Iron Man. I understand wanting to like form that bond between him and Peter and everything, but I feel like, with Aunt May being his caregiver, there should have been some form of like deeper relationship established between them besides just the fact that she's his caregiver. And then, is it bad of me to say that like when she died, I had this like nagging feeling in my head where I was just like, she kind of brought it upon herself. Like she forced me eventually to like try to help everybody. Yeah. And then it like comes back to like, and like that's kind of her fault. Like none of this would have happened.
Yeah, I mean,
had Peter just done what he wanted to do in the first place.
It should be a life lesson. You try to help everybody, you're gonna die. Somebody's gonna kill you. You help everybody because somebody's gonna kill you. No, but I now that I think about it, I agree with what Katie and Maggie said, that in the first movie, Spider-Man: Homecoming, they focus on Spider-Man and Iron Man. Aunt May is pretty much absent the whole movie, like, except in the beginning and the end. Because it's more about Iron Man and his relationship with Spider-Man and trying to make him, like a better person than he was, and then it ends with Aunt May finding out he's Spider-Man. Next thing we know, we go to Spider-Man Far From Home. Then we focus again on Iron Man's death, how it's affecting Peter. And Aunt May's already kind of like on board with him being Spider-Man, and then she's absent the whole movie because, let's face it, she would have been useless.
That's fucked up.
And yeah, because I mean, he's over here with Mysterio and everything. What was Aunt May gonna do? If anything, Happy was the one helping him through this whole like thing with Mysterio and helping him like figure things out, and rescues him, literally, and is able to, help him out with his friends and everything. And then we come here, and Aunt May is now. Maybe she's been wise this whole time, but it hasn't been shown, like they were, like Maggie and Katie were saying. Now she's wise, trying to do the right thing, and now she's dead, and it's the absolute turning point for him, because he pretty much Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, he pretty much loses it, when she dies, and he just has one mission, and that is to kill Green Goblin. Period, and it takes a lot of other things that we'll go over it to kind of go towards the end. But I mean, I gotta agree with Katie. I totally forgot. Like, we passed that scene, and this, as we know now, so many things happen after it that I forgot about it, dude. I forgot that she died until the very end when I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, she's gone.
Yeah, that's why he's really angry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. I completely had a different kind of spin on it, but maybe
go ahead.
Maybe just because I'm in love with Marisa Tomei, but who played Aunt May. But I thought it was smart not killing her. In a way, killing her made sense because just like in all other franchises, the Uncle Ben or the dies, because they never really mentioned Uncle Ben through Tom Holland movies. But I think it was smart killing her towards the end, because every movie we're like, oh, she's gonna die in this movie, and it happened in the Amazing Spider-Man where it was his parents, but both and his uncle. But I like the way in Amazing Spider-Man they had their the story of their dad arc over to the other movie. But I don't want to say I didn't see it coming, but it was sad. But I mean, she did hit him with the great power comes great responsibility line. And I think that really helped out for the other scene later with the other guys. But all right, guys. Yeah. So we're going to get to that portal scene now. But before we do, we're going to take a little break, okay? So we'll be right back. All right, guys. We're back. Okay. Enter Spider-Man 2 and 3. Guys, before I get into what I want to say, honestly, I was just more relieved than fucking excited at that point to see the other two Spider-Mans. I was like, thank God, dude. I didn't want Jeremy
praise the Lord, man.
Fucking crying. I'm like, yeah, I was like, oh my God. It was fucking nice. It was surreal. we're just gonna go around the table, starting with Kay. Kay, how was that scene for you? Tell me what's going through you watching Andrew Garfield step into the MCU, as well as Toby.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned how I was like, shook when Daredevil made an appearance. I was even like more shook, when they came out. I was like, oh my god, and like, and I felt like they, I know German had like a different. I'll tell you all about it, but I felt like they did a good job in how they brought them in, because I felt like it like gave like a little bit of that comedy relief. And it also gave like that like you kind of expected it, but at the same time, it was like still like, like that moment when you're like, oh my God, like it's actually them, And I really love that scene and everything about it. Yeah.
Terms?
Speechless, man. I mean, like you said, more relief, excited, pissing my pants, jizzing my pants, and everything that comes with it. All kinds of body fluids coming out of me.
Yeah. We had baby wipes on deck.
No, but seeing Andrew Garfield coming in, fully dressed as Spider-Man, and then obviously us knowing exactly who it is, and then him taking off his mask. It was so surreal, dude. Like,
Well, not to jump in, but I mean, I personally didn't know. I'm like, it could be Toby. I didn't recognize the suit like that. I was just like, it's not Tom Holland, but it's one of these guys. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I was like, what?
I know, as soon as he stepped out of the circle, the suit was Andrew Garfield's, and super exciting. And as soon as it's gonna sound ridiculous, but as soon as he came out of the circle, he has a good few minutes of conversation. I was not paying attention, man. I was already thinking like, come on, bro, come on.
You're like, we're halfway there.
Yeah. Toby,
yeah.
It did surprise me. Spoiler alert, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the movie. But it did surprise me that they introduced both of them like right there. Like, I thought it was gonna be one, stuff happens, then the next one, I
thought so too.
So I wonder what it was great, either way. I wonder what the thought process was in that. Like, let's just put them both like right there. But then seeing, Tobey Maguire come out of body experience, man, I was levitating off my seat. I was like, it's okay. Yeah, she saw, I was like, spazzing out and shit. But I did have, maybe it was just me being stupid, hyping myself up for the movie, imagining all kinds of ways how they were going to return, and I'll go over it into a little bit. But seeing him come out, like, just dressed like, without the suit, I think it was good, because you already had Andrew Garfield dressed up as a suit. And the first thing there were two things that went through my head, it was like, oh my God, Toby's back, out of body experience. And second immediate thought was like, damn, he's old.
Dude, I had that on my notes.
Needs to.
I had that on my notes. Like, mentioned Toby's
he
old.
Looks tired. He looks like, in his spider world, he's been through a lot,
He's been through the Mary Jane.
Yeah, this is all Mary Jane's fault. You should probably put him through all kinds of shit, and now he looks like super old. Because later on we will talk about all the conversations they had. But yeah, dude, it was great. Later on I will mention like what I thought was gonna happen in comparison to how they were introduced. But it was great, dude. It was great. I was super hyped. Like tears coming out of my eyes, like I said, all kinds of body fluids just coming out of me.
That's normal for you, but yeah, for this movie, it exaggerated. But
speechless, man. I mean, you might as well have thrown Wolverine coming out of that too. Just saying,
we'll
just saying they had a chance. I would have died, bro.
They could have brought Howard the fucking Duck in. I would have been like, yeah, let's go.
Just screaming and shit.
Yeah,
they could have brought the human play. I would have been off my seat.
Okay, Maggie, your thoughts on the portal scene?
I was super excited at their introduction. I literally started crying when I saw Andrew Garfield step out. I was so happy. I really loved the whole interactions that happened between, not only Andrew Garfield and like Tobey Maguire, but like MJ and Ned and like the other two Spider-Men and stuff. Like it was just such a nice, as Katie said, like just pause from like all the heavy from all the heavy whole like now you just made me like really.
No, you're good. I got fucking goosebumps talking about it right now. You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, but just from all the heavy stuff between Peter and May and everything, her whole death, I just really liked how it was just a nice piece of relief, pretty much. It was just all comedy. I also find it just really interesting that they decided to introduce Andrew Garfield before Tobey Maguire. Which, in terms, like, I love Andrew Garfield as much as the next person. He's definitely my favorite out of all three of them. But in terms of, like, hype and excitement, you would have thought that they would have decided to introduce Tobey Maguire first, if only just, I don't know. I guess it would make sense if only just to live up to the hype and expectations of it all, I guess. But, I don't know. It still kind of caught me off guard that it was Andrew Garfield being the first one out of the two of them to be introduced to step out. I really liked that scene, though. It was nice.
Okay, so for me, I thought it was very kind of like a German. I didn't think that was the way they would do it, but it felt very authentic. Looking back at it now, I'm like, that was it just happened by the luck of Ned just fucking around. He brought in two Spider-Men. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they walked through, I don't know. It was, I'm like Maggie right now. I'm like speechless thinking about it. But yeah, as soon as I saw Garfield, as soon as the portal opened and you saw Spider-Man, and I kind of knew, I'm like, that's not Tom Holland. And then when the crowd started, like that's the only time when the crowd really went crazy in our theater. And I wouldn't even say crazy, they just made some noise. That's when I was like, oh shit, dude, it's gonna happen. Like, I think this is it. And he steps through it, and yeah, I was just fucking relieved to see him. I thought we'll talk a little bit more later, but about the other Spider-Mans towards the end. But I think Garfield, jumping a little ahead of myself, he was really good throughout this film. The presence that he had, he just said, "Fuck it, let's see what happens," and it really, really was a good performance by him. Not to shit on Toby, the youth pastor, but he did really look old when he walked through. I was like, oh shit. I thought he had Daredevil's cane when he walked in. But yeah, but it makes sense though. Like if you watch like the Spider-Verse, him being the older Spider-Man, it was good. He still had the suit and everything. Went into that after the lab scene where they're all working on, serums and stuff that they need to do to take care of the villains. It was nice to see them all interact with each other, yeah. They were just talking shop, especially that scene, if we're getting into the final battle now, right before the big, fight, they're still talking shop. They're still talking about each other and the web shooting and, Garfield. I mean, Tobey Maguire, it's like wrestling almost. I know I was going to have to say it, but like Tobey put Andrew Garfield over so much. It's like, you're amazing, man. They really they sold each other. And yeah, I thought that was cool. Right. But that scene though, when all three of them meet for the first time, on the roof, that was very powerful. That, I think if you were supposed to cry, which I didn't at that scene, but I think if you were supposed, should have been the scene. I thought a big old, like one of these portals was going to open and like, the Vin Diesel was going to come out talking about family too, but yeah. Yeah, so let's go a little bit going forward. the scene at the Statue of Liberty. Did you guys notice they did the meme thing? I didn't notice till I went on Twitter after.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very subtle. So it was definitely easy to miss all three of them kind of like pointing at each other, because I feel like in the meme, you kind of associate it with them, be like, wait, I'm Spider-Man. No, I'm Spider-Man. But when they do it, they're talking about something totally, yeah. But when they do it, they're talking about something totally different. You know, they're just trying to come up with a game plan. So it's just, you're more focused on what's going on than what they're physically doing. So it was easy to miss. I did want to go back real quick to the lab scene. Yeah. You know, the more I relive the movie in my mind, I keep coming out with like, oh, it's one of my favorite scenes. And at this point, it's just the whole movie is just my favorite scene, you know? Again, they mentioned, they didn't name drop Harry Osborn, but Toby mentions that he had his best friend who died in his arms after he tried to kill him, you know?
Yeah, going back to it, yeah.
And then you can, Andrew Garfield sees MJ and Tom Holland, you know, interacting, and you can see he's just sad about it because, you know, he lost Gwen. Him and Toby connecting about, you know, what's going on in their personal lives, you know, because they kind of give you a glimpse on what they've been up to a little bit, you know. From there, we learned that Andrew has just been doing Spider-Man stuff, not really focusing on anything of his personal life. And on the other hand, you know, Toby doesn't really mention all his Spider-Man stuff, but he does mention, you know, he's been with Mary Jane. It's complicated. So who knows? Maybe that's also a contrast as to how they came out of the portals. You know, Andrew Garfield comes out dressed as Spider-Man, you know, because maybe that's just what he's doing, and Toby comes out dressed as Peter Parker in his normal clothes because maybe that's his priority now, you know, himself rather than his Spider-Man duties. But that lab scene is just great, dude. Seeing all three of them interact, and then, you know, going into the grand finale at the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, I mean, once again, though, yeah, the chemistry. Now I'm trying to put Andrew Garfield over, but all of them they had good chemistry with each other. I really like the more intimate scenes when it was just Garfield and Maguire, Toby. You know, that scene where he's opening with his back, whatever. Because let's face it, you know, we're in the now, but it was so good to see, you know, like these two people are really, who would have ever thought these two would be at the same time, same film doing Spider-Man, you know what I mean? And it's not even their movie. Like, they still gave them the respective time that they wanted to do. Andrew Garfield has chemistry with everybody, man. I don't know. I got a part of me, I mean, I don't know, maybe Maggie agrees too. I kind of want to see Gwen, but yeah, that's just me. I like that scene when they're about to go in a fight and they're swinging on each other's webs. That was really cool how they were correlated. I thought that
amazing
was
scene.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Before we get into the ending of the final battle and basically into it, any more thoughts on all three of them together?
Yeah, well, I feel like seeing all three of them together really did. I mean, it surpassed like my expectations and hopes of what I had for what their interactions would be like together. You know, but I mean, personally, yeah, I do feel like Andrew Garfield really stole the show when it came to all three of them. I feel like they did his character such justice in writing it. Whereas you know, in some of the previous movies, maybe it wasn't as well written and everything. But yeah, I feel like I don't know, his acting was amazing in this. I liked it.
Any thoughts, Maggie? Oh, sorry. We'll get back to you, Jim.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead, Maggie. Yeah.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're all gonna say something before we move on.
Yeah, I really liked the interaction between all three of them. I really appreciate how they took a lot of time to establish their backstories for Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. They didn't really go too in depth in it, but they went sufficiently in depth where I feel like if you hadn't watched the other movies, you at least have an understanding of like what they'd been through, like their trauma and everything. The whole trauma bonding thing, I really liked. I really liked them just talking about, oh, like I lost my uncle, and it's like, oh, I also lost my uncle. It's like, well, I lost my aunt right now, and it's just like, okay, well, like we're all sad clearly. And it was just a very nice. I don't know. I really loved the whole every interaction between all three of them.
Yeah, it was great. So, all right, final battle. So it starts off, I believe, it's Electro, Lizard, and I skipped you, didn't I? Fuck. Okay, I'm sorry, Jerry. I owe you a apology. Hey, man, we're live, dude. I got hyped. I'm sorry.
Hey,
Go ahead, Jeremy. No. This was your idea. This is your episode. The floor is yours, sir.
No.
Close us out on the 3 Spider-Mans.
I mean, it seems a little exaggerated, but will be forever grateful to whoever was in charge of making sure that this happened, because so many things could have gone wrong in, the making of this movie, as far as, scripts or directing, salaries, who the hell, that it could have very well ended up being a very different movie, so, whoever was in charge of making sure this happened, like, great job, dude, or girl, but seeing the 3 of them, their interactions, their scripts were great. I have to agree. Surprisingly, Andrew Garfield for me was one of the highlights of every interaction that all 3 of them had. It seems like Tobey, obviously, he's probably will always be my favorite Spider-Man. And seeing him interacting and just being back in a movie, let alone in the MCU, was great. But he didn't need as much. I don't know if I can explain it well, but I feel like he didn't need as much redemption, as much as the Amazing Spider-Man, because and maybe the studio knew this, knew it too. Maybe Marvel and Sony knew it. Like, hey, people are just gonna be happy to see Tobey and Tom, and the least hype is Andrew. And who knows, maybe we'll talk about it at the end, but maybe they're setting up a comeback for him or other Spider-Man projects,
Bring that back up later.
Tobey is knocking wood for Katie. But Tobey is, in reality, he's old, maybe we had him for the 3 Spider-Mans, great Spider-Man movies, but, maybe Spider-Man 3, not so much. And having him back here, maybe that's it for him. This is it. Just the fact that he's here in the MCU, we had this whole interaction. Maybe this is it for him. And I would be fully satisfied. Am I always gonna be happy to see him back if he ever does? Hell yeah! Kind of like seeing the Undertaker retire and coming back 30 years in a row. Always happy to see him. But at some point, you're satisfied with everything they've done. But yeah, Andrew Garfield was great. I feel like their whole scripts were great. Their whole interactions. That scene, I feel like for Tobey at least, because they showed Tom and Andrew Garfield putting on fully suited for a while, and when they asked Tobey, because I think it's Andrew asks him if he's gonna be dressed like the youth pastor for the whole movie, or wear his suit, and he kind of teases that he has it. In my mind, dude, they were gonna make this grand entrance with his suit for nostalgia, but honestly, they kind of just put it on, and it was it wasn't even a moment, He was just oh, now he's dressed, now he's flying around. So I don't know if that was intentional or not. In regards to his suit, because I feel like they teased it, and people were like, "Oh yeah," and then it just kind of happened, and it was never even a thing, But just very happy, dude. Very, very glad that we got to see this movie, and we got to see the interactions so far, and the wait was worth it, dude.
It was. It really was. Yeah, I mean, I can't get over that scene too. I don't even know how. I wish we could just end it there, but believe it or not, we still have a fucking final battle and other stuff to talk about. Okay, so once again, Green Goblin was going to close this out as usual, but Electro looked fucking strong. It took all three of them to fucking kick his ass. I mean, it took all three of them to fight all of them, but Electro, I mean, there's money. I think they're gonna know there's money in this Amazing Spider-Man stuff. So I know we'll talk Venom later, but I think there's a possibility we see Tom Hardy and Andrew Garfield in a movie together. But we'll get into that later. They pretty much, it was actually pretty fast at first with the other villains. They picked them off one by one, whatever. It was a serum or some type of, the arc. They took care of each one. I like the little scenes that each Spider-Man had with their own personal villain. That was cool. My favorite, I think one of my favorite scenes that we'll probably not talk about more as this movie kind of just, we watch it over, and is the scene with Toby and Otto Octavius. I think actually them seeing each other, that was really cool, I think, because it's not Dr. Octopus anymore. It's Otto Octavius at that point. He's still like, hey, boy, I haven't seen you. You're so, I thought that was cool. I'm like,
I teared up, dude.
I know, I'm getting goosebumps talking about that part. I really thought that was cool. The scene with Electro and Andrew Garfield teasing Miles Morales, that was great. The Lizard, like I told you, man, it's just, I mean, we can't say that this movie was perfect. The way I agree with you, the way about the suit. For me, Lizard was just one of those things that just, he was there, man. I mean, even the Sandman, I think, had a bigger piece in it, but and then here comes Mr. Badass Green Goblin, William Dafoe, and I think that's when the real fucking battle started. Going to Maggie, when MJ fell, what was on your mind as she started to fall?
I genuinely thought she was going to die. I was kind of expecting her to die. Like that was my main reason. I thought, I'm a big fan of like things coming full circle, and I thought, since Gwen Stacy died like this, I was like, she's probably going to die like this too. Where like, whether it be because Tom Holland's Spider-Man couldn't like save her or something, or like he does what Andrew Garfield did, saves her, but she ends up like still dying in the process somehow. I was expecting her death. I was not expecting, well, I should have coming, but I wasn't really expecting Andrew Garfield to like jump down and like save her. Like I feel like that was genuinely my favorite part of like that entire fight scene of when he catches MJ, because it's just kind of like it's that moment where it's like closure for him pretty much. He wasn't able to save his like the love of his life, but like in some way he kind of was able to at this point, because like, I mean, it's not him, but it's him from like another universe and stuff, a different timeline. And it's just very, I don't know, it's very bittersweet. And I cried during that scene. This scene literally like broke my heart. I was just so upset.
I mean, I was very emotional watching this film, but that's the scene that where I was like, yeah, dude, that a tear came down for that one. I was like, Jesus Christ, they did it.
Yeah, the first thing I did was look at Katie, and yeah, she's crying.
Yeah, I know. I heard Katie fucking crying. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah,
great moment, dude. Of him saving MJ. Because you can see the sadness in his eyes too. He's glad that he saved her, but I mean, it's also got to remind him, like I couldn't save Gwen Stacy. It's just, and I guess it does come a little full circle, as Maggie was saying. Maybe MJ doesn't die, but it comes like some kind of closure to him, like some kind of redemption in his eyes, that he still is like, I don't know, worthy or something, Yeah, I mean, the final battle and stuff, like you're saying, I like the Lizard. I mean, he wasn't like,
I did too. He's a great actor.
They'll have their moments. They'll have their little moments to shine. I like the Green Goblin wasn't back into the battle until like very much the very end. Because yeah, it would have been way too much to have all of them and the Green Goblin. I wonder what he was doing this whole time, just hanging out or something.
He was drinking that fifth of Henny on the roof. Like, I'm gonna be there in a minute, but yeah, I honestly think if Goblin showed up earlier,
feeling his lighter, yeah.
Yeah, I think if Goblin showed up, he would have just killed everybody. Even the villains are like, fuck you guys, dude.
He would have just bombed the whole thing.
Just would have fucking Hiroshima them. But Yeah, that final scene. Okay, so Green Goblin pretty much was like the final boss level of that, the end game of the final battle. But that fight scene on the floor with Tom Holland and Green Goblin looked eerie familiar to that first movie, that fight. But it was, when that first movie when Green Goblin's just whooping his ass, towards the end. That's pretty much what Tom Holland was doing with Green Goblin. He had Green Goblin looking, and vice versa too, at that scene at Happy's house. But he was just whooping that ass. But Toby comes in, and the first time finally Toby and Green Goblin have share the screen with each other, going back to that word continuity. Green Goblin doesn't even say hello. Like, he just straight stabs him in the fucking back. Like, I thought Toby was gonna die. I was like, geez, it made sense.
Dude,
Like you said,
I
he's old.
jumped out of my chair. I felt my soul leave my body. I was like, God damn it, dude, they're gonna kill him. And then I was like, okay, I guess, I guess, cool. I mean, obviously it didn't happen, because he pretty much just like walks it off. But it does scare you. And who better would have been to kill him than the Green Goblin, bro? Who better to have done it than him, his first villain, that fight scene is brutal. Very reminiscent, like you were saying, of the first Spider-Man, where they're just going at it. And when he stops Tom Holland from killing him with the glider, it really reminded me of, it was almost like contrast to when Harry Osborn sacrifices himself. He kind of just, again, with the glider as well. Fucking glider, man, killing everybody. The real villain here is the glider, bro.
Yeah.
But, they killed Harry Osborn, killed the first Green Goblin. It was used as a weapon this year. It killed Aunt May. I'm telling you, bro. But, that final scene. And, the Green Goblin, he's getting his ass beat or whatever. He's going hard, dude. He doesn't even bleed once, if you notice. Like, Tom Holland just hands it to him. He doesn't bleed one drop of blood. He's just his character is incredible. And the acting, bro, I'm kind of glad that I did like the helmet and everything for the Green Goblin, but I'm glad that they didn't hide Willem Dafoe's face behind the mask for this one, because it just elevated it, It was like,
yeah, and that was validated in that scene when in Happy's, when Tom Holland's just punching him, and he's just smiling, bro, taking the shots. He's just laughing and Tom Holland's punching him, and I was like, fuck, dude, this dude.
Yeah, very, very like reminiscent of the Joker. I saw a lot of people online comparing them, after just incredible performance by Willem Dafoe. In that scene, in that whole battle scene, probably one of my favorite scenes, if not almost my favorite, is when Toby and Doc Ock meet and they have that conversation, because it's very heartwarming,
Yeah, for me it was. That was
the only reason why he turned bad is because his arms had mind control over him.
Yeah.
But he himself wasn't a bad person, so just them talking to each other like friends, because that's what they were really. Like, he was kind of like a mentor to him in the science kind of thing. And hearing their theme songs, because I know the first time I told Katie, when Andrew Garfield and Electro are talking, you can hear Andrew Garfield's theme song in the background. Obviously is now blasting, because they're having a conversation. And the same thing with Toby and Sandman and Toby and Doc Ock, when they meet face to face again. You can hear Tobey Maguire's theme song in the background, and that made me tear up. Because this whole movie, I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that song. I have it as my ringtone on my phone. But that whole movie, I was waiting for Tobey Maguire's theme music, and when I finally got it, even though it wasn't as grandiose as I wanted it to be, it was still very satisfying, and I still teared up.
He was so focused on the music being played that he didn't even pay attention to what the lines being delivered. He was like
that. We were talking about it after. She's like, "Did you catch when you said that?" And I'm like, "No, I was listening to the music." I wanted that song so bad.
It was like that meme of SpongeBob waiting at the table. He was just waiting for the music to play.
Dude, I was waiting for it. Just fully satisfied, dude, with that whole final scene. They all had their moments to shine. There was comedic relief when Tom Holland mentions that he knows how to work in a team because he's in the Avengers, and the other two have no idea what the hell he's talking about. And it just shows how like also a little like a difference, because Spider-Man over here in the MCU has the Avengers, Iron Man, and everything, and these guys in their own universe, they did it by themselves pretty much, all the roles that they had to fight. I mean, worth it, dude. Worth the wait. Yeah. What else can I say? So towards the end, Toby survives, and Tom Holland has to make the choice. Does he let all these people in, or does he save himself and everybody else and makes Doctor Strange reverse the curse and have everyone forget he ever existed? In that scene when Doctor Strange is trying to close everything up, did you guys see any other characters trying to enter through the multiverse? I think I saw a Scorpion. I think you said Rhino. Did you guys see anybody else? I wasn't really. There's too much happening at that time. I didn't really.
I saw a couple of like silhouettes. But... Yeah,
I saw Scorpio, if I remember. I saw Rhino. I saw Kraven the Hunter.
You saw Kraven? I didn't see a Kraven. That's interesting.
I think he's the very first one that they show. I'm surprised you missed it. It's pretty big. But I would have to rewatch it and slowly like pause it to be able to see the other shadows, because I could only see one at a time, Yeah. I was in such awe at the moment.
Yeah, I had a friend say they mentioned, I can't find it right now. She said that they mentioned somebody, that they showed somebody, and I didn't see it, but there's everybody saw somebody different. So that's a scene that I really need to rewatch. So pretty much that's what happens. Peter reverses everything. All right, guys.
I have to address the fact that Stan Lee wasn't present for this. He always mentioned that Spider-Man was his favorite superhero out of all of them. I was kind of hoping they were gonna, obviously not a full cameo, obviously not a cameo, but like something in reference to him. Maybe there was, and I just missed it, like an Easter egg or something, like a picture of him. But yeah, I mean, I would have been very happy to see this happen,
Yeah, I bet he would have liked to see it. All right, so then that pretty much happens. Towards the end of the movie, everything is somewhat back to normal. Obviously, they don't know who Peter is. Peter's graduated high school. He's going to college. Where do you guys see the Spider-Man films going through here now? What do you think? What's next for Tom Holland, Peter Parker?
Well, I'm thinking, pretty much just, I feel like he's gonna be like kind of like similar to Andrew Garfield, and like now that he lost everyone, pretty much like he's just gonna throw himself into like being the hero, kind of thing. And I mean, I'm thinking that, well, I would like to think, I don't know, that they're still gonna find a way to write in like MJ and Ned, and like and maybe have them be like, I don't know, I've seen theories about like Ned being like a possible villain and stuff like that. So like I'm hoping that they make an appearance in like future movies and everything. I just don't know how it's gonna like play out with Tom. But I mean, German mentioned that like, if I think that he's gonna find a new love interest, and I'm really hoping they don't like take it that way. And I feel like I'm hoping that they just kind of have him like just take on the role of Spider-Man,
Yeah.
For the next movies.
Interesting.
He's just gonna be a weirdo stalking MJ, from the rooftops.
Yeah.
Just sitting in the shadows like Daredevil. Or like,
like Andrew.
They told him not to go with Wayne. He's just stalking her. I, due to the end credits, which we'll talk about a little bit, I feel like we kind of get a hint of who his next villain may be. or where his next arc might head to. I don't know.
We'll get into that right now.
As far as MJ and Ned, yeah, that ending, pulled the strings of my heart. Just the fact that he decided not to tell them who he was, because that was his plan, I'll come back to you guys. And that's the first thing he's trying to do, is go tell them who he is. But he sees that, they're fine, like they're living their lives. They got accepted to college. MJ is actually excited about school, which she's rarely excited about anything. And I think the little Band-Aid from the cut that she had is symbolic, because she's healing,
Iralo?
And they're now at and they're now at peace, I guess. His friends are at peace. And May's dead. Happy is, I wonder what Happy's gonna be doing now. Probably with Pepper Potts or some shit. But yeah, it's kind of like everybody that he cared about is dead, or just finally like safe, from what he could put him on. As far as his next adventure, I don't know, dude. I'm really excited to see what they come up with next, or if he's gonna cross over to other series or movies or something. And then just seeing his character growth in the last 3 movies. He starts off in Spider-Man Homecoming as just so excited to be a hero, so excited to be an Avenger, and just looking for action. And, for the next movie, Far From Home, he loses Iron Man. He's kind of starting to realize the weight of what being an Avenger or being a hero comes with. And this comes full circle in this movie. He loses it, and he's the most damaged he's been. And that's truly what they all go through, all of the Avengers, I think, have gone through all this loss and stuff, and that he hadn't gone through. So he's understanding it now, and just taking the responsibility, and maybe, actually focusing on being a hero now. And I mean, he has a new suit. Looks dope.
Yeah.
I didn't get a full, because it's very fast, but it looks really sick.
Yeah, it really does. We'll get into the suit and the other possible places he could go. But Maggie, overall, what do you think the Spider-Man movies go from here?
Well, I, as much as I would love for MJ and Ned to like come back and be a part of the upcoming movies, I really don't. I kind of hope that they don't, in a weird way, if only because I feel like that's really going to put Peter back, like, from all the character development that he's had so far. Like, he's, as German said, he's learning to be a superhero. He's learning that doing this comes with consequences and everything. And I just feel like it would set him back a little bit. Like, I feel like maybe it's going to be something he's going to have to deal with, is just like having to accept and acknowledge that, like, there are some portions of his life that he probably shouldn't be mixing with, like, the superhero part of him. So maybe it'll be like a callback to like the second Tobey Maguire movie or whatever. I also just, I'm I'm expecting him to die at some point. Maybe not like anytime soon, but I'm expecting it to happen, if only because I'm a big fan of like Miles Morales and Into the Spider-Verse, and I really want them to introduce at some point. I just want him to be a part of the MCU so badly. And I mean, they had that whole like ending credit scene and stuff, and I think it was like Homecoming, where they like name dropped Miles and everything, and then like that kind of hint of like, oh, between like the conversation with like Jamie Foxx and Andrew Garfield and stuff, like during the fight scene where he's like, oh, I thought you were black, and he's like, oh, well, like, sorry to disappoint and stuff. And it's just like that whole, I'm just very hopeful for like Miles Morales into play at some point. I don't know, in the future.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's not if, it's when at this point with Miles Morales, and also with Venom, but we'll get into that. But the suit at the end, I thought it looked nice. It was really fast. It looks like the original suit, nice, bright blue, red, just, straight out of the comic. But the suit is not what I was really interested about. It's the ending of the film, of the actual film. He's in Rockefeller, New York, obviously, during Christmas. What else is going on right now in the MCU during Christmas?
Okay.
Hey, yeah, Hawkeye.
I mean, Cuckold.
So,
I mean, Hawkeye.
I honestly, we might see Spider-Man, you know, I mean, well, for the finale of Hawkeye, or maybe they're just teasing it to people for tuning into Hawkeye. But I think, I mean, they had, Kingpin's going to show up.
Maybe
Daredevil just
gonna be my guy, and he's gonna swing by and hit him with his schlong like in the head or something.
I think Spider-Man showing up for Hawkeye makes sense. That way we get Daredevil introduced into the film.
I'm not gonna hold my breath on that one because we were 100% sure Doctor Strange was gonna show up at the end of WandaVision, and he was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a possibility.
But we know that they're taking place at the same time. We know that Daredevil and Kingpin are now in the MCU, so I'm expecting to see someone show up. I don't know if it would be Spider-Man. It would be super dope for him. Maybe I don't know if they would waste his appearance on a cameo though. I'm not sure what the deals are right now of the current Sony and Marvel agreement. So I don't know if they would waste one of his appearances on just a quick cameo on Hawkeye. But I have a feeling that they would use Hawkeye to introduce someone,
Yeah.
But it would be exciting to see him and the Hawkeye finale. To be honest, me and Kay watched like 1.5 episodes. We're cut up now. We watched 1.5 episodes and we were just not super interested. We were just like, we're gonna watch Daredevil. But now that Kingpin is back, now it's like, okay, well, now we gotta watch it.
I was like that too. I was like, okay, I'm watching it because I kind of have to, but it did a big 180, and now I'm really excited for the Hawkeye finale. But all right, guys, we finished the movie. So before we end, let's talk the credits real quick. Okay, Venom in the MCU. The scene with Venom. There's only a few things I really didn't like about this film. One was how they used Lizard. 2 was the Venom end credit. And 3, no rent guy. What the fuck? We couldn't get Stan Lee, but you could have gave us a no rent guy. You know what I mean? No rent, no home.
When Peter shows up at the apartment and the raggedy ass apartment, I really thought, or I was really hoping that the voice was gonna be the rent guy. They didn't even have to show him. Like even just his voice, very unique, would have been like a great, just kind of a great ending to that as well.
Yeah, I would have fucking loved to see him. But in all seriousness, so the symbiote. The alien symbiote is an MCU, not necessarily Tom Hardy, because we see him. He is technically for a little bit, but when Doctor Strange does the spell, he gets sent back to his universe. I think part of me wants to see Tom Hardy. Why would you give him 2 movies and now officially announced today the development for the 3rd one, and for him not to be in the MCU? But at the same time, I mean, like, I know you naturally just love Venom, German, and I think it's pretty big where I think it'd be a mega blockbuster to see Tom Hardy and Tom Holland, the Toms, battle of the Toms at the same time. But I feel like it kind of going back to like wrestling, like he's so over, like everybody loves Venom. Like it's going to be hard to have really, on paper, yeah, it's bad versus good, but 2 fan favorites going at it. So I think it is kind of smart teasing the symbiote in the MCU. That way, their Eddie Brock could be like some fucking asshole douchebag, I don't know, piece of shit guy. But
I mean, they may be, depending on how this all goes. I would be very happy with having kind of the 2 universes, and at some point have them collide again, like it happened in this movie. I think Tom Hardy, going back to his universe, it could set up a comeback for one of the other Spider-Mans, most likely Andrew Garfield, and see an Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield and Tom Hardy's Venom. I feel like their chemistry would be great, as far as, because, even the Venom that we have now with Tom Hardy has a lot of comedic relief, I feel like seeing them both would be great. and then also having a separate Venom in the MCU, more as like more as a stronger villain, I guess. Kind of you're saying more douchebag, more evil-ish. I don't know who they could cast, and I'm sure they already have it in mind. I'm sure they already figured all this stuff out. Because who knows? Maybe we're not gonna see anything remotely touching on the symbiote for a while. Maybe we're gonna get another movie or something, and they might not even touch into it. They're just gonna leave it in the background, kind of like whatever's happening with that. Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see Venom 3. I would love to see Tom Hardy and Tom Holland together. It doesn't seem like that's gonna happen, or who knows? I honestly, who knows? Tom Hardy has said that he wants to have a movie with Tom Holland, period. That's what he wants to do. I don't know.
Okay. Sisters, do you guys agree? Do you guys want to see Tom Hardy in the MCU or no?
Yeah,
I would love to see Tom Hardy.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool to see him. Do I think it's, gonna be with Tom Holland? Probably not. But I'd like to see him in there.
Speaking of like how German said about leaving him in the back for us to think about, Doctor.
What if he comes back in that multiverse of madness? What if he gets sucked right back in?
There you go. There, it's always open, so we'll see. I would love if they could bring Venom back in. That'd be a great way. But another thing that they had on the bench was Mordo from Doctor Strange. He did the end scene for the movie in 2015. Doctor Strange came out, the first one, and we haven't seen him since. So it was nice to not only they acknowledge Doctor Strange as the end, but they gave us a whole trailer. Wanda's rumored to be a villain in it. Mordo returns, and then this evil Doctor Strange guy on the. I'm pretty excited for it. What do you guys think as we wrap this up?
Yeah, no, I'm super. I've been telling German that I'm super stoked for that movie. Before it, because honestly, this movie probably made it to my top from the MCU movies. But I was telling German that if anything, I feel like this the Multiverse Madness movie is going to I feel like it's gonna be my number one. I hope it's as good as I'm hyping it up to be and thinking it's gonna be. But I feel like it has the potential of being my number one movie. I'm really, really excited to see that one.
Totally 100% with you, Kay. I had been when they announced all the movies for Phase 4. This was the one that I circled. And I'm like, this is gonna be fucking good. Doctor Strange. I feel like this could probably honestly be a natural part 2 to this film. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do. Maggie, what are your thoughts on this Doctor Strange trailer?
I'm excited to see Wanda and Doctor Strange, their interactions together. I also am excited at the aspect of it being potentially more horror based. I've heard that that's something that they want to do, and I'm a really big fan of horror movies. So I'm just I'm hyped for that. I'm very excited to see how they try to go about doing that. Since most Marvel movies tend to be very lighthearted and colorful and everything, it's not anything like any of the DC Universe movies, which are dark and gritty or anything. So hearing that they want to try to take on something a little scarier, I guess, I'm very excited to see how they go about doing that.
I want to see some blood. I want to see some death. German, your thoughts on the Doctor Strange trailer?
I feel like among all of us, are just very excited with the possibilities that movie could bring as far as other heroes, cameos from other, heroes that we haven't seen, just in general. Who knows? Maybe they could introduce the X-Men or Fantastic Four. I don't know. The possibilities are literally endless with what they could do in a movie that's about the multiverses colliding and all this stuff going down. Like we said, who knows? Maybe Tom Hardy comes back up. He gets sucked right back in. In the Venom movie, Venom acknowledges that he has knowledge of millions of universes. This is even before No Way Home takes place. So Venom might have the power to just know what, like, travel between universes or something, But as far as Doctor Strange, very excited to see him. It's been a while since obviously we had his movie. Maybe excited to see if they touch on if it's actually him or if there's something going on, like, regarding his personality switch, in my eyes. But no, dude, super excited. Really excited to see Wanda. I know we just had a WandaVision, and it kind of leaves her in this spot where she is probably going to be just as powerful as Doctor Strange, if not more powerful, making her probably the strongest Avenger. But I don't even think they're gonna be. They're called. We call them Avengers anymore. I mean, it's done. They're just their own. There's no more Avengers. I mean, Tony's gone, Captain America's gone, Thor is gone. So I think it's just their own arcs anymore. I don't even. Maybe in the future there's gonna be some kind of hero team up, but I don't even know if they're called Avengers anymore.
That's very true, and I think this is the first time, really. I think we saw them in Endgame, but this is the first time they're on screen together. Doctor Strange and Wanda. Yeah. And they're two of the most powerful. So.
They didn't interact that I remember.
Yeah, so.
But it's going to be crazy to see if they fight each other, seeing them with their powers fighting. I don't know, dude. It's going to be mind-blowing, dude. I'm really happy.
And I'm hoping we also see, there's a possibility we see Loki, we see Sylvie.
Oh yeah,
we might see a guy. Who knows? We might see a guy eating chimichanga, swinging a katana knife. So that would be great. All right, guys, we fucking did it. This is the third finale of No Mama's Way Home. Give you guys a round of applause, pat on your back. Shout out to German. This was his. This was his idea, and I'm glad we saw it through, guys. So I really want to thank you guys. Let's see. Maybe, who knows? Maybe for the Doctor Strange one, we'll do a one-off episode or something. So we'll see. All right. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe we could do something else. We could do Daredevil, or maybe we could do a WandaVision one with Doctor Strange, the first one. Maybe we'll see. There's a multiverse of podcasts that's open for this show. So thank you guys so much. All right, guys, we're gonna sign off. Thank you. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. See you later. Bye.